After feeding the alien sisters, he never expected what came next. The ground beneath his boots shimmered faintly with the glow of tiny, floating fungi that pulsed like gentle lanterns. For a human living on the frontier of space, this planet was both a paradise and a puzzle. He had been assigned here as a xenobiologist, tasked with studying the diverse life forms that thrived in the alien forests. Most days were quiet, peaceful, and full of wonder, but tonight felt different. He walked slowly along the familiar path, scanning the undergrowth with a handheld sensor. The device beeped softly, signaling traces of movement. Jason's curiosity piqued. It wasn't unusual to spot wildlife at night, but this reading was too organized for random creatures. He crouched behind a cluster of glowing ferns, peering through the dim light. Two figures emerged. They were small, slender, and unlike anything Jason had ever seen before. Their skin shimmered faintly with a soft, silver-blue glow, and their large, luminous eyes reflected the surrounding forest like mirrors. They moved with grace and balance, as though they were part of the wind itself. Jason's heart raced. The creatures, he soon realized they were sentient, paused when they noticed him, tilting their heads in curiosity. Jason froze. "Easy," he whispered to himself. "Just don't scare them." He reached into his backpack and retrieved a small packet of nutrient-rich rations, a kind he had prepared for studying alien herbivores. The forest around them was sparse on food that humans could recognize, and he guessed these beings might be hungry. Tentatively, he held out the rations. The creatures tilted their heads again, their glowing eyes fixed on the package. "Here," he said softly, "you can try this." For a moment, nothing happened. Then one of the creatures, slightly taller than the other, stepped forward. It extended a delicate arm and carefully took the food. It brought it close, sniffed it, and then, with slow precision, consumed it. The smaller creature followed suit, mimicking its sister. Jason exhaled in relief. "They're intelligent," he murmured, captivated. Their movements were deliberate, almost ritualistic, as if they were performing a dance with every bite. Despite their alien appearance, there was a hint of innocence in their actions. Over the next hour, Jason fed the two sisters. He began calling them that in his mind, observing their behavior. They didn't speak, not in any human sense, but they communicated in soft hums and melodic tones. Sometimes the sounds intertwined, creating harmonic patterns that resonated through the air. Jason recorded the sounds on his device, fascinated. "What are you two?" he asked quietly, almost to himself. The sisters tilted their heads, their luminous eyes reflecting his face. One of them reached forward, brushing a glowing hand against a fern. The plant responded, pulsing brighter as if acknowledging the touch. Jason's eyebrows rose. He had heard rumors of species that could interact with their environment on a subtle, energetic level, but he had never witnessed it firsthand. As he continued feeding them, Jason noticed other peculiarities. The temperature of the air seemed to stabilize around them, the ambient light softened, and even small insects avoided their immediate vicinity. The sisters moved in harmony, mirroring each other's gestures and expressions. It was as if they were two halves of a single consciousness, yet each maintained its individuality. Jason's initial caution gave way to fascination. He carefully knelt to observe them more closely. "I'm Jason," he said. "I'm not here to hurt you." The taller sister tilted her head and Jason swore he saw a faint nod. The smaller one emitted a high, lilting hum. Jason laughed softly, the sound echoing gently through the glowing forest. He had expected wildness, maybe fear, but not this connection. Hours passed. Jason kept a careful distance, yet he felt strangely drawn to the sisters. They seemed to trust him, even rely on him. He noted every detail, their reactions to light, their movements, the cadence of their hums. By now, it was clear that feeding them had formed the beginning of a bond. He felt a sense of responsibility. Suddenly, the forest around him shifted. A soft wind swept through the glowing trees, and Jason felt a subtle vibration under his feet. The sisters' eyes glowed brighter and they moved closer together. Their hums grew louder, more resonant, filling the night air with an almost tangible rhythm. Jason's heart raced. Something was happening, something he did not yet understand. The sisters formed a small circle, facing each other, their hands touching lightly. The light from their skin intensified, illuminating the surrounding ferns and casting dancing shadows across the forest floor. Jason watched, mesmerized, as the sisters' combined energy seemed to interact with the environment. The plants around them swayed, tiny spores lifted into the air, and even small puddles reflected the shimmering light in extraordinary patterns. Jason instinctively took a step back. "What are you doing?" he whispered. The taller sister glanced at him briefly, then returned her attention to the circle. The hums became deeper, more complex, and Jason realized it was almost musical, a communication he couldn't decode yet but could feel in his chest. There was a sense of urgency and harmony at the same time. Then, unexpectedly, the hum stopped. The sisters looked directly at Jason, their eyes glowing steadily. They took a synchronized step toward him. Jason froze, unsure of what to expect. Their gestures were gentle, unthreatening, but intentional. One of the sisters extended her hand toward him. Jason hesitated, then slowly reached out. When their hands met, he felt a strange warmth, a subtle energy coursing through him, not painful, not dangerous, but undeniable. He felt connected. A sudden thought crossed his mind. Feeding them had been a simple act of kindness, but this was beyond anything he could have anticipated. There was a bond forming, one that linked his energy, his presence to theirs. His mind raced. What could this mean? Were they merely curious, or was there something more profound at play? The sisters pulled back slightly, still observing him, their hums softening into gentle tones. Jason realized that they were testing him, evaluating whether he was trustworthy. He nodded slowly, speaking in soft tones, "I'll protect you. I won't hurt you." The sisters responded in kind, a brief synchronized hum that felt almost like affirmation. Jason felt a rush of relief. He had not only made contact with an intelligent alien species, but had also established trust. And yet, there was an unspoken understanding that this was only the beginning. Jason spent the rest of the night observing the sisters, taking notes and recording their behavior. The forest seemed alive with energy, responding to their presence in subtle ways. He realized that Violia 7 had more mysteries than he could have imagined, and these two beings were likely the key to understanding them. As dawn approached, the sisters finally retreated into the thicker forest, their glowing forms fading into the soft morning mist. Jason watched them go, a mixture of awe and anticipation filling him. The night had been extraordinary. He had fed two alien sisters, and in doing so had become part of something far larger than himself. He stood alone in the forest, sunlight filtering through the bioluminescent canopy. Jason exhaled slowly, a smile forming on his face. "This is just the beginning," he said softly. "I don't know what comes next, but I'm ready to find out." He packed up his equipment and began the walk back to the colony, his mind buzzing with questions. How had the sisters' presence affected the forest? What were their true abilities? Could they communicate more directly if he learned their language? And most importantly, what consequences might follow from this first act of connection? Jason didn't have the answers yet. But one thing was certain. Feeding the alien sisters had opened a door, and there was no turning back. He was now part of a bond that could change not only his life, but the future of the colony, and perhaps the understanding of humanity's place in the galaxy. As he returned to the research outpost, Jason felt a strange mixture of excitement and responsibility. The sisters were not merely guests. They were intelligent, powerful, and curious beings, and their trust in him was a rare gift. He would need to learn quickly how to honor that trust. Little did he know that the consequences of this night were already beginning. The subtle energies the sisters had shared with him were lingering, changing the forest, and perhaps even influencing him in ways he could not yet perceive. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, Jason felt a profound sense of purpose. And deep in the forest, the sisters watched. Their luminous eyes had seen potential in the human, and they were not mistaken. Something extraordinary was unfolding, and it all began with a simple act: feeding the alien sisters. The following days on Violia 7 were unlike any Jason had experienced before. The encounter with the alien sisters, Nyria and Selene, lingered in his mind, filling him with a mix of excitement and curiosity. Every time he returned to the bioluminescent forest, he felt a pull, as if the very air was urging him to find them again. Jason spent the mornings analyzing his recordings from the previous night. The hums, the energy patterns, and the subtle interactions with the environment all suggested that the sisters' presence had a profound influence on the world around them. Plants pulsed more vibrantly, small water pools shimmered, and even the tiny insects seemed to avoid the areas where the sisters lingered. He had never seen such direct interaction between a species and its ecosystem, not even in the most exotic terrestrial experiments on Earth. Fascinating, Jason muttered to himself, adjusting his equipment. It's not just intelligence, they're affecting the forest itself. By midday, he ventured deeper into the forest. He moved carefully, leaving small traces of nutrient rations as he went, hoping to attract the sisters again. Hours passed with no sign of them. He began to feel a twinge of worry, wondering if he had frightened them or if they simply avoided human presence. Just as he was about to turn back, a soft, melodic hum reached his ears. Jason froze, straining to listen. The sound was familiar, echoing the pattern he had recorded before. He followed it cautiously, ducking behind glowing ferns until he reached a small clearing. There in the center stood Nyria and Selene. Their luminous skin glowed brighter than before, casting the clearing in soft silver-blue light. The sisters paused when they saw him. Nyria, the taller of the two, tilted her head. Jason slowly stepped forward, holding his hands open in a gesture of peace. "I brought more food," he said gently. Selene, the smaller sister, moved first. She approached him and took a nutrient packet with careful precision. Nyria followed, mirroring her sister's actions. Jason watched as they consumed the food, their movements synchronized, almost like a ritual. As he observed, he noticed something new. Tiny plants at the edge of the clearing began to grow, their leaves unfurling at an accelerated pace. Jason's eyes widened. The sisters' presence, combined with the nutrients he provided, seemed to stimulate growth in the surrounding flora. He pulled out a scanner and confirmed it. These plants were absorbing energy at an unprecedented rate. "This is incredible," he whispered. "You're not just feeding, you're enhancing life." The sisters' hums shifted, blending in a way that resonated with the scanner's readings. Jason realized that they were communicating something to him, perhaps even responding to his presence. He tried to mimic their hums, producing soft tones with his voice. Nyria and Selene paused, then repeated the hums in a slightly altered pattern. Jason recorded the exchange, feeling a thrill at the possibility of a form of dialogue. Over the next few days, Jason returned to the clearing regularly. He learned to observe without intruding, letting the sisters guide the interaction. He discovered that small movements, raising a hand, nodding, or even the pitch of his voice, elicited responses from them. They were intelligent, perceptive, and remarkably sensitive to human behavior. One afternoon, as he sat at the edge of the clearing, Jason noticed a subtle but distinct pattern. The sisters' energy seemed to interact with nearby machines. His handheld scanner, which had been idle, suddenly flickered to life. The readings stabilized and began transmitting data without human input. Jason leaned forward, astonished. "They're affecting the tech too," he murmured, "not just the plants." The implications were staggering. If these abilities could be understood and harnessed safely, they might revolutionize human understanding of energy systems, ecosystem management, and even technology integration. Jason felt a surge of responsibility. He had discovered something extraordinary, but he knew he needed to proceed with caution. Later that evening, as the twin moons of Vierlia 7 rose in the sky, the sisters performed another synchronized ritual. Their hums filled the air, resonating with the forest. Jason watched as they formed a circle, their hands barely touching, creating a soft energy field that caused nearby plants to bend gently toward them. He realized that their bond with him, formed through feeding and careful attention, was strengthening. Jason stepped closer, careful not to intrude. "Can you show me what you're doing?" he asked softly. The sisters paused, then tilted their heads. Nyria extended a hand toward him. When Jason reached out, he felt the same warmth from before, a subtle, pulsating energy that connected him to them. It was not uncomfortable, rather, it was empowering. He felt as if he could sense the forest around them, as if he shared their awareness of the plants, the soil, and even the faint rustle of creatures in the distance. This is beyond anything I expected," he whispered, eyes wide. Over the next several days, Jason began experimenting with careful observations and interactions. He discovered that minor gestures could amplify the sisters' energy influence. A hand waved near a plant could accelerate growth. A soft hum could stabilize small electrical currents in nearby machines. Jason documented every detail, eager to understand the limits and possibilities of their abilities. However, not all colonists were as impressed. Rumors began to circulate about a human spending excessive time in the forest with unknown aliens. Some feared that the sisters' influence might destabilize the colony's delicate environment. A small group of scientists and security personnel approached Jason one morning, voices filled with concern. "Callan, we've received reports about energy fluctuations near your research area," one of them said. "Is there any reason to believe these aliens could be dangerous?" Jason shook his head. "They're not dangerous. In fact, their presence is enhancing the ecosystem. The energy changes you've detected are benign, perhaps even beneficial. I've observed accelerated plant growth and minor stabilization in equipment. Nothing harmful." The team exchanged skeptical looks. "How can you be sure?" another asked. Jason swallowed. He had no concrete proof beyond careful observation, but he trusted his understanding. "I've been documenting everything. Give me time and I'll show you the data." Despite some skepticism, the colonists allowed him to continue. Jason returned to the forest, grateful for the opportunity to keep working with Nyria and Selene. He felt a renewed sense of purpose. These sisters were not merely subjects of study, they were partners in discovery. One evening, as Jason sat near the clearing, he noticed a change in the sisters' behavior. They were more energetic, their movements faster, their hums more complex. He realized that his continued interaction, trust, and feeding had strengthened their connection. The energy they emitted now extended farther, influencing a wider area of the forest. Jason felt the pull of responsibility more strongly than ever. He knew he had to ensure that their abilities were used positively. The colony's survival, the forest's balance, and even the potential for human-alien collaboration depended on careful management. Suddenly, a soft vibration ran through the ground. Jason's scanner picked up an unusual energy pattern, one unlike anything he had seen before. The sisters paused, their hums halting abruptly. Their glowing eyes focused on the edge of the forest, alert and tense. Jason followed their gaze. A faint shimmer appeared in the distance, a traveling anomaly moving through the forest. Jason's stomach tightened. He didn't recognize the signature. "What is that?" he whispered. The sisters reacted instinctively, moving closer together. Their hums merged into a single, sustained tone, filling the clearing with energy. Jason felt the warmth intensify, spreading through the soil, the plants, and even his own body. The anomaly slowed as it approached, as if sensing the sisters' presence. Jason's mind raced. Could this be a new species, a natural phenomenon, something artificial? He didn't have time to speculate. He needed to act carefully, ensuring the sisters' safety while understanding the anomaly. He took a deep breath and stepped forward, holding his hands open in a gesture of peace. "It's okay," he said softly, though he wasn't sure if it would help. "Stay calm. We'll figure this out together." The anomaly paused, hovering at the edge of the clearing. Its shimmering form flickered as if assessing the situation. Jason felt the sisters' energy intertwining with his own, creating a protective field that extended beyond the clearing. It was subtle but tangible, a barrier of influence that seemed to stabilize the immediate area. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then the anomaly changed direction, moving away from the clearing. Jason exhaled, relief washing over him. The sisters' instinctive reaction, combined with his presence and trust, had prevented a potential threat. Jason knelt, examining the energy patterns left behind. The anomaly had interacted with the forest in subtle ways, leaving traces that were detectable but harmless. He recorded the data carefully, knowing it might be valuable for future study. As the night deepened, Jason realized something profound. The sisters' abilities were not just biological or environmental, they were relational. Their energy responded to trust, to care, and to the bond formed through consistent, respectful interaction. This was a form of communication and influence far beyond what human science had accounted for. Jason felt a mixture of awe and responsibility. The sisters had chosen to trust him, and their abilities had already begun to shape the environment in ways humans could benefit from, if managed wisely. He knew the next steps would require careful planning, diplomacy with the colony, and further observation of the sisters' capabilities. As dawn approached, Jason watched the sisters retreat into the deeper forest, their forms fading into the bioluminescent mist. He packed up his equipment, heart full of anticipation. The bond was growing stronger, and he understood that his role had shifted from observer to participant in something extraordinary. He returned to the colony, eager to share his findings but mindful of the need for careful explanation. The sisters had shown him that humanity's ability to build trust, show kindness, and act with patience could open doors to discoveries far beyond technology alone. Jason knew that this was only the beginning. The anomaly had been a warning, a glimpse of challenges that might lie ahead. But he also knew that with the sisters' trust and the power of human curiosity, intelligence, and courage, they could face whatever came next together. And somewhere in the forest, Nyria and Selene watched, their luminous eyes reflecting the rising sun. They had chosen to trust him, and in doing so, they had begun a journey that neither species could have anticipated, but one that promised wonder, growth, and a future shaped by cooperation and respect. Jason woke to the soft hum of the colony's energy systems. For a moment, he thought of the alien sisters, Nyria and Selene, and the strange anomaly he had encountered days before. The event had left a lingering tension in his mind, and he felt a renewed urgency to understand the sisters' abilities and how they could impact the colony. By mid-morning, he set out for the forest again. He carried extra nutrient rations and a small portable scanner, ready to record every detail. The forest greeted him with its usual calm beauty, the glowing ferns, the soft luminescence of the trees, and the occasional flutter of alien insects. Yet Jason could sense a subtle change in the atmosphere. It was as if the forest itself held its breath. He reached the familiar clearing where the sisters often waited. They were already there, their luminous forms shimmering in the soft morning light. Nyria and Selene moved in unison, glancing toward Jason as he approached. The energy around them seemed stronger today, pulsing with a rhythm he had not felt before. "Good morning," he said softly. "I'm glad to see you both." The sisters responded with melodic hums, echoing each other in perfect harmony. Jason took a careful step closer. He noticed the plants near them growing at an accelerated rate, their leaves unfurling and vines stretching toward the light. He knelt to observe, recording data on his scanner. As he studied the readings, a sudden vibration ran through the clearing. The sisters paused, their heads tilting in unison toward the edge of the forest. Jason followed their gaze. The anomaly had returned, this time closer and moving faster. Its shimmering form pulsed with a vibrant energy, almost alive in its movement. Jason's pulse quickened. "It's back," he whispered. He understood that this anomaly wasn't simply a natural phenomenon. Its behavior suggested intelligence, or at least a reaction to the sisters' energy. Nyria and Selene responded instinctively. Their hums grew louder, resonating through the clearing and interacting with the forest. Jason felt the warmth of their energy, stronger than ever before, flowing through the soil, the plants, and even his own body. He realized that the bond they shared was amplifying their abilities. He took a deep breath and stepped closer, holding his hands open in a gesture of peace. "Stay calm," he murmured. "We'll figure this out together." The anomaly paused at the edge of the clearing, flickering as if assessing the situation. Jason felt the sisters' energy extend outward, creating a protective field around the clearing. Plants bent gently, their growth forming a natural barrier. Jason understood that the sisters were instinctively shielding themselves, the forest, and him. The anomaly advanced again, and Jason realized that their abilities alone might not be enough. He needed to guide them, coordinate their energy with his understanding of the environment. "Follow my lead," he said quietly, placing his hands near a cluster of ferns. The hums responded immediately, and the plants bent in a pattern he suggested. The energy from the sisters seemed to flow through him, amplifying their control. For several tense minutes, the anomaly tested the clearing. Jason observed its movements, adjusting his gestures and hums to direct the sisters' energy. Slowly, the anomaly began to retreat, unable to penetrate the coordinated defense. Jason exhaled, relief washing over him, but he knew this was only a temporary victory. Over the next few hours, Jason studied the anomaly from a safe distance, taking detailed notes on its energy signature and behavior. He realized that it was drawn to the sisters' unique abilities, responding to their energy patterns with curiosity and caution. The sisters themselves were exhausted, their hums slowing, but they remained alert. Jason knelt beside them, placing a gentle hand on Nyria's glowing shoulder. "You did well," he said softly. "We've learned a lot from this encounter." The sisters responded with faint hums of acknowledgement. Jason understood that their bond with him had deepened, and this connection had likely influenced the anomaly's retreat. He marveled at the realization. Human empathy, curiosity, and trust could enhance alien abilities in ways no machine or technology could replicate. That evening, Jason returned to the colony, determined to share his findings. He presented the data to the senior scientists, explaining the anomaly, the sisters' abilities, and the potential applications for environmental and energy management. The room was filled with skepticism at first, but Jason's calm confidence and detailed recordings began to shift opinions. "These beings are remarkable," he concluded. "Their abilities are tied to trust and interaction. If we understand them and work alongside them, we can protect the colony and learn from their energy systems. But we must proceed carefully. Any misstep could have unforeseen consequences." The lead scientist nodded slowly. "We'll need to monitor the situation closely." "Your observations are critical, Callan. Continue your work but maintain safety protocols at all times." Jason agreed, knowing that the stakes were high. The anomaly had shown that the sisters' abilities could attract attention, and the colony's safety depended on careful management. Yet he also felt a sense of purpose. Humanity had always thrived by understanding, adapting, and cooperating. Here, on Virelia 7, those qualities were being tested in a new and extraordinary way. The next morning, Jason returned to the forest with renewed focus. He spent hours observing the sisters, noting their patterns, their responses to his gestures, and the subtle shifts in the environment. He discovered that their energy could influence not only plants but also minor electronic systems, stabilizing equipment and even amplifying signals. "This could be revolutionary," he whispered, recording his observations. "You're not just enhancing life, you're bridging biology and technology." As the day progressed, the anomaly returned, approaching from a slightly different direction. Jason noticed that the sisters anticipated its arrival, positioning themselves strategically in the clearing. Their hums blended with his, creating a harmonized energy field that stabilized the surrounding forest and equipment. Jason realized that this was no longer a simple interaction, it was a coordinated defense. The sisters trusted him to guide them, and he trusted them to respond instinctively. Together, they formed a partnership that was greater than the sum of its parts. The anomaly hovered at the edge of the clearing, flickering and pulsing as if studying the bond between human and alien. Jason felt a surge of determination. "We can do this," he said, raising his hands to direct the energy flow. The sisters responded immediately, their hums resonating with his gestures. Plants bent to form a protective perimeter, vines interlaced, and even small rocks shifted slightly as the energy flowed through the ground. For several tense moments, the anomaly tested the defenses. Jason adjusted his movements, guiding the sisters' energy with careful precision. Slowly, the anomaly began to retreat, unable to breach the harmonized field. Jason exhaled, relief washing over him. As the anomaly disappeared into the forest, Jason knelt beside the sisters. "You were amazing," he said softly. "We've learned so much together today." The sisters responded with gentle hums, their energy subsiding but remaining faintly warm and vibrant. Jason understood that the bond they shared had not only protected them, but also influenced the anomaly's behavior. He marveled at the realization. Human empathy, courage, and understanding could amplify alien abilities in ways no technology could replicate. Over the next several days, Jason continued to study the anomaly's patterns and the sisters' responses. He discovered that their energy could be controlled more precisely through coordinated gestures, vocal tones, and presence. He began developing a system to train them in subtle ways, enhancing their natural abilities while maintaining trust and respect. One evening, as he rested near the clearing, Jason reflected on the events of the past week. The anomaly had been a challenge, but it had also revealed the potential of human-alien cooperation. He realized that their partnership was not just about survival, it was about growth, understanding, and the possibility of something greater. Nyria and Selene approached, their luminous forms moving in synchronized harmony. Jason smiled and extended a hand. They responded, their energy flowing through him, warm and familiar. He felt a sense of connection that transcended language, species, and understanding. "This is just the beginning," he whispered. "Together, we can face whatever comes next." As the forest pulsed with bioluminescent light, Jason knew that the challenges ahead would be greater, but so would the rewards. The bond he had formed with the sisters was rare, extraordinary, and powerful. Humanity's capacity for empathy, courage, and trust had opened the door to possibilities that no technology could achieve. And deep within the forest, Nyria and Selene watched, their eyes reflecting not only the glowing plants but the growing potential of a partnership that could change the future. They had chosen to trust him, and in doing so, they had begun a journey that neither species could have anticipated, a journey that promised discovery, growth, and a future shaped by cooperation and respect. The morning sun bathed the bioluminescent forest of Violia 7 in a soft, shimmering glow. Jason Callan had spent countless hours over the past days observing and learning from Nyria and Selene. Their bond had grown stronger, and he could feel the subtle energy of the sisters coursing through the forest, stabilizing plants, equipment, and even the air itself. Yet he knew that the anomaly had not been fully understood. Its patterns remained unpredictable, and its curiosity, or perhaps intelligence, loomed like a silent question mark on the horizon. Jason prepared for the day with careful precision. He packed nutrient rations, his portable scanner, and a small field device designed to monitor energy fluctuations. Today, he thought, they would not only observe but act. The anomaly's return was inevitable, and he wanted to be ready. As he approached the clearing, he saw the sisters waiting. Their luminous forms pulsed gently, as if acknowledging his presence. Nyria raised a hand in what Jason had come to recognize as a greeting, and Selene mirrored the motion. Their synchronization was remarkable, a dance of energy and intent that he had learned to anticipate and respect. "Good morning," Jason said softly. "We have work to do today. Are you ready?" The sisters responded with harmonic hums, each tone resonating in the clearing and blending with the forest's natural luminescence. Jason felt a thrill of anticipation. He knew that today's encounter with the anomaly would test not only their abilities but also the bond they had built. Hours passed as they waited, the forest alive with soft glows and gentle hums. Jason studied the patterns of the anomaly's previous appearances, predicting its possible path. His heart raced as a faint shimmer appeared at the edge of the forest, gradually growing in intensity. The anomaly was approaching faster than before. Jason signaled to the sisters. They moved with precision, positioning themselves at opposite ends of the clearing. Their hums grew louder, resonating in complex patterns that interacted with the forest and the soil beneath their feet. Jason extended his hands, feeling the warmth of their energy connect with his own. Together, they formed a triad of coordinated influence, a protective and responsive field of energy. The anomaly entered the clearing, its shimmering form flickering unpredictably. Jason noticed that its movement was not chaotic, it was cautious, evaluating, almost hesitant. He realized that it was aware of the combined presence of human and alien energy. "Stay calm," he whispered to the sisters. "We can guide it, trust me." Nyria and Selene responded instantly, their hums synchronizing with his voice, creating a field that extended beyond the clearing. Plants bent and intertwined, forming natural barriers. Rocks shifted subtly, guided by the energy flow, creating an intricate pattern that deflected the anomaly's movement. Jason observed the anomaly carefully. It reacted to their coordinated energy, slowing as if testing the boundaries. He realized that their abilities were not just reactive, they were communicative. The anomaly was responding to their intent, just as they had learned to respond to his. For a tense moment, nothing happened. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Jason adjusted his position, directing subtle movements with his hands and a soft hum. The sisters mirrored his actions flawlessly, amplifying the effect. The anomaly paused, then tilted its shimmering form, almost as if acknowledging the bond that had formed between them. Jason felt a surge of insight. This was more than defense, it was dialogue. He reached out, letting the energy flow through him fully. "We mean no harm," he projected with thought and presence, allowing the sisters' energy to carry the message. "We are friends. We seek understanding." The anomaly shimmered brightly, then pulsed rhythmically as though responding. Jason's heart leapt. For the first time, he felt that the unknown presence recognized their intent, their cooperation, and perhaps even the humanity that had built this connection. Nyria and Selene moved closer to Jason, their hands brushing the ground. The forest reacted, small plants stretching and intertwining to form a protective cocoon. The anomaly began to hover in place, no longer advancing or retreating. Jason realized that it was now observing, absorbing, and interacting with their combined energy. Minutes passed like hours. Jason continued to guide the sisters, directing gestures and hums to maintain balance and harmony. He understood that their trust in him had created a unique bridge, a way to communicate not only with the anomaly but with the environment itself. Finally, the anomaly emitted a bright pulse, sending waves of shimmering light across the clearing. Jason felt the energy wash over him, warm and vibrant. The sisters responded instantly, matching the pulse with their own energy, creating a resonant harmony that seemed to integrate the anomaly into the forest's ecosystem. Jason realized the significance of the moment. The anomaly was no longer a threat. It had become part of the living system, responding to the harmony of trust, intelligence, and cooperation. The sisters' abilities, guided by human understanding, had transformed potential danger into mutual awareness and balance. As the pulse subsided, the anomaly lingered for a moment longer, then slowly moved away, fading into the deeper forest. Jason exhaled, his body trembling with relief and awe. He knelt, observing the sisters, whose luminescence had softened to a gentle glow. "You were amazing," he said softly. "We did it together." The sisters responded with harmonic hums, their energy settling into a calm rhythm. Jason felt a profound sense of connection. He realized that humanity's strength was not in raw power or technology alone, but in intelligence, empathy, and the ability to cooperate with other beings. The sisters had trusted him, and together they had achieved something extraordinary. Over the following days, Jason continued to study and document the interactions between the anomaly, the sisters, and the forest. Each encounter revealed more about the intricate balance of energy and life on Violia 7. He discovered that subtle gestures, vocal patterns, and focused attention could amplify the sisters' abilities, creating protective and regenerative effects that extended across the ecosystem. Jason shared his findings with the colony's scientists. Skepticism remained, but the detailed records, sensor readings, and observable environmental changes provided undeniable evidence. The colony began to recognize the potential of human-alien cooperation, not just for survival but for advancement in ecological management and energy systems. One evening, as Jason rested near the clearing, he reflected on the journey. The anomaly had been a challenge, but it had also revealed the power of trust, empathy, and human ingenuity. He understood that the sisters' abilities were not merely biological, they were relational, amplified through connection and understanding. Nyria and Selene approached, their hands brushing gently against the glowing ferns. Jason extended his hand, and they responded immediately, their energy flowing through him in a comforting rhythm. He felt a profound sense of harmony, a balance between species, intelligence, and environment that transcended language or form. "This is what we can achieve together," he whispered. "Mutual respect, trust, and understanding can create a future far beyond what we imagined." As the twin moons rose in the sky, Jason realized that the sisters' influence extended beyond the clearing. Small plants thrived, water sources glimmered with life, and even minor electrical systems in the nearby colony stabilized with surprising efficiency. The anomaly had integrated itself into the system without threat, and the forest itself seemed to acknowledge the balance that had been restored. Jason knew that challenges would continue to arise. Violia 7 was a living, dynamic world, full of mysteries and potential dangers. Yet the events of the past days had proven something essential. Humanity's courage, intelligence, and empathy were powerful tools in any encounter, even with alien species of unimaginable abilities. He looked at the sisters, their eyes reflecting the glow of the forest. "We've started something extraordinary," he said, "and this is just the beginning." As dawn broke over the bioluminescent canopy, Jason felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had discovered not only the sisters' abilities, but also the profound impact that human trust, kindness, and understanding could have in shaping relationships, environments, and futures. Humanity, he realized, was capable of bridging gaps, forming connections, and creating harmony in ways no technology alone could achieve. Nyria and Selene shimmered softly, their presence a reminder of the bond they had built. Jason understood that their trust was a rare gift, one that demanded patience, respect, and care. He vowed to honor that trust, guiding the sisters' abilities responsibly while learning from them and the world around him. The forest pulsed with life, harmonized by the energy of three beings who had come together through choice, trust, and empathy. Jason knew that this was more than science. It was a partnership, a testament to the power of understanding and cooperation across species. And deep in the forest, as the anomaly drifted away and the light shifted with the rising sun, the sisters watched Jason with quiet acknowledgement. Their journey together had proven that human intelligence and heart could forge paths of harmony in even the most alien worlds. Jason smiled, feeling a warmth that went beyond the forest, beyond the colony, beyond the limitations of any single species. He had fed the alien sisters, earned their trust, and together they had faced the unknown. The consequences had been far greater than he could have anticipated, yet they had led to growth, understanding, and hope. As the day began, Jason took a deep breath. He knew the universe was full of challenges, mysteries, and wonders. But he also knew this. With empathy, courage, and intelligence, humanity could meet any challenge, form bonds across the stars, and shape a future of possibility and cooperation. The forest of Vierlia 7 glowed in harmony, and Jason Callan walked forward, ready to embrace the next chapter of discovery, knowing that the trust of the alien sisters had opened doors to a future beyond imagination. After feeding the alien sisters, he never expected what came next.